Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So, my name is Cara. I am a dietetic intern. I'm from UTMB, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the DASH diet and hypertension. Just before we get started, the DASH diet does stand for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. So, just in case anybody's confused about what that means. Let's see. Okay, so what is hypertension? Hypertension is blood pressure that is higher than normal, and it causes stresses on blood vessels, making it harder for your heart to work. And that stress on your blood vessel is going to make it or make you an increased risk for developing other chronic diseases. So you have your hypertension, and it might not be like significant enough to where you can see like any signs or symptoms, and that's why it can be called as or referred to as the silent killer. And over time, it can lead to other serious health issues such as heart attack, stroke, or chronic kidney disease. And hypertension makes it harder for your arteries to properly do their job. So it can lead to hardening of your arteries, and that can lead to a decrease in oxygen and blood that circulates throughout your body. Okay. And here are some like illustrations of your blood pressure ranges. You'll have your systolic and diastolic. Systolic just means whenever your heart is contracting and sending blood to the rest of your body. And diastolic is whenever your heart is at rest. So normal blood pressure is 120 over 180. Elevated would be 120 to 129 over 80. And then high blood pressure is in two stages. So stage one is considered 130 to 139 over 80 to 89. And stage two would be 140 to 180 over 90 to 120. And you can see on the far right, that is considered a hypertensive crisis. So you would probably want to seek like emergency care or medical attention if you have a blood pressure higher than 180 over 120. So high blood pressure, again, it can impact your other organs, such as your heart, your brain, your kidneys, and your eyes. And hypertension is actually the leading cause of heart disease and stroke. So someone with hypertension can control these risks by altering their lifestyle, though. And here are some lifestyle changes. We'll be talking about the DASH diet. Being more active can also decrease your risk and can also lower your blood pressure, and quitting tobacco products if you use them, and also limiting your alcohol intake. And again, DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. Okay, now we'll get into like medications and your doctor's appointments. For your medications, you always want to take them as prescribed by your doctor and never share your medication. So if you like run out, don't share it with your friend or your husband or wife. Always make sure that you're taking the medication that your physician prescribed you. Also, getting a system is really beneficial to make sure that you're taking it on time and taking the right dose. So getting like a pill reminder, either like on your phone or one of like the pill calendars where you could lay out your week of medication, that might be helpful, and it'll make sure that you're not missing a dose or skipping pills throughout the day. And scheduling regular doctor's appointments is also very important. Certain medications can impact your other organs, so your doctor might want to like monitor your other organ function and make sure that your medication is actually doing its job. And it's really important that if you do have hypertension, that it's addressed and your blood pressure goes back down to a normal range. And if your doctor is suggesting like you scheduling an appointment every like 3 months or 6 months, just make sure that you're staying on top of those appointment times. All right, so now we're going to get into the lifestyle modifications that we mentioned earlier. starting with the DASH diet. The basics of the DASH diet is just going to be fruits, vegetables, low-fat dairy, whole grains, lean proteins, and nuts, seeds, and legumes. Um, and the DASH diet is proven to help lower your blood pressure and help with weight management. A study released in 2018 and also the Dietary Guidelines for Americans suggests that the DASH diet is the most effective and easy to follow eating plan for blood pressure management. And then I'm sure you guys have seen my plate. This is just like a DASH style my plate. So you're gonna see on the left-hand side, you have your fruits and vegetables, and you're gonna want to get 4 to 5 servings of vegetables and 4 to 5 servings of fruits per day. And on the right side, you can see grains and protein, as well as your dairy. So you're gonna strive for 6 to 8 servings of grains per day and less than 6 servings of that lean protein per day. And for dairy, you want about 2 to 3 servings per day. And for the nuts, seeds, and legumes, you want about 4 to 5 servings per week. And we'll get into why that one's the only one that's on like a weekly basis versus a per day basis. Um, and this is based on a 2,000 calorie diet. You might need more or less calories depending on your gender, your age, and your activity level. So just talk to your doctor or registered dietitian before like setting a specific calorie or nutrient goal for yourself. Okay, so now we'll get into like each specific food group. What's in a serving of fruit? It could be like a medium-sized fruit, half a cup of fresh, frozen, or canned fruit, a quarter cup of dried fruit, or half a cup of 100% fruit juice. So that doesn't count if it's like 8% fruit juice, like it has to be 100% fruit juice. And again, at the bottom, it just says 4 to 5 servings per day is what you're going to want to strive for.
Carl.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out that if a person has one whole cup of fruit juice, then in that moment they are consuming 2 servings.
Exactly.
Yeah, we wanted to make it as plain and clear as possible what servings look like, because that's often confusing for people. You tell me to eat this amount of servings, but not understanding what an actual serving size is. So this is a really good example.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to get into like an easier way to like quantify a serving later in the presentation. So it's a little bit easier for you to see. So I'm going to talk about like serving sizes compared to like your hand. And I think that might also clarify a little bit, just because we're seeing like half a cup and a quarter cup, and it might be hard to like quantify like half a cup if you don't have a measuring cup in front of you. But one other thing that I wanted to add was that fruits and vegetables do provide potassium, magnesium, and fiber, and all 3 of those nutrients do help to lower your blood pressure. And I've heard a lot of people saying that they believe that fresh fruit has a lot more nutritional value than like frozen or canned fruit, but that's just not the case. Fresh, frozen, canned, or dried, they have nutritionally the same value. So like if you're getting a fresh strawberry and a frozen strawberry, you're going to have like the same nutrition from it. The only thing that I would look out for would be added sugar. So if you're getting, I see it commonly like in canned fruit, you might see it like in high fructose corn syrup. So I would just look for ones that have like in light syrup or packed in water. So you're not getting that extra sugar that you don't necessarily need. And here are the vegetables. Again, you just want 4 to 5 servings per day. And a serving of vegetables would be 1 cup of raw leafy vegetables, half a cup of cut up or raw, half a cup of cut up raw or cooked vegetables, or again, half a cup of 100% vegetable juice. And for vegetables, I see a lot of canned ones that say like low sodium or no salt added. And those are the ones that you're going to want to grab over the ones that have that added sodium in them. So just look out for any extra sodium that you don't need. Um, and then here are our dairy servings. You want to strive for low fat or fat free for all of your dairy. So it'll be like a cup of milk, a cup of yogurt, 1.5 ounces of cheese, and again, you just want 2 to 3 servings per day. And dairy is a great source of calcium and potassium, both of which lower your blood pressure. And then here are the grains. You want 6 to 8 servings per day, depending on how many calories you consume, and you want at least half of those coming from whole grains. So I typically like to pick out whole grains based on like the packaging. In the front, it'll say 100% whole grain. So that doesn't count if you see like wheat bread. If it doesn't say 100% whole grain, then it's technically not a whole grain. And it doesn't count if it says multigrain either. It has to specify whole grain on it. And the grains are going to provide fiber, which lower your blood pressure. And in a serving of grains, you can get 1 slice of bread, an ounce of dry cereal, or half a cup of cooked rice, pasta, or cereal. And in a serving of protein, you can have 1 egg, you can have an ounce of cooked lean meat, poultry, or fish, and total for your day, you want to stay under 6 servings. Whenever you're choosing your protein in the store, I would try to get protein that is lean, and if you aren't able to do that, you can trim any visible fat whenever you're preparing it. And there's different ways of prepping or like cooking your protein to ensure that you're not getting too much excess fat in it. So try broiling, roasting, or poaching to reduce that fat content. And here are our nuts, seeds, and legumes. A serving of these would count as 1.5 ounces of nuts, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 2 tablespoons of seeds, and half a cup of cooked legumes. So like beans, peas, and lentils would all count for a legume serving. So you want 4 to 5 servings per week, just because these do have a higher fat content, and you want to start to limit the fat content that you're getting throughout the day. So strive for 4 to 5 per week. And also one thing to mention is these are both a vegetable and a protein, but they're high in calories and also fat again, and they're high in magnesium, protein, and dietary fiber. But just keep an eye out for any added sugar or added sodium, because that could also play a part in your blood pressure. Okay, so here are our oils. You want to stay up to about 2 to 3 servings per day. And that does include, like if you cook with oil and you use like a tablespoon of oil, that would count as a serving or whatever that might look like for you. So a teaspoon of soft margarine would be a serving, 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil, or 2 tablespoons of light salad dressing. You want to try to pick any of your oils to be like vegetable-based oils. So like canola, olive, safflower, sunflower, or corn oil. And you want to try to replace your solid oils with a more like liquid vegetable-based oil. So like your butter or lard, you might want to switch it out with a vegetable oil. And okay, I'll get into like the servings, just because I saw this slide and I was like, I don't really know like how to visualize like a teaspoon if I'm out at like the grocery store or at a restaurant and I need to like see what a teaspoon looks like. So a fist is going to equal 1 cup, and a deck of cards, or like the width of your pinky plus your palm, is going to be about 3 ounces. So you want, if you're getting 2 servings or like 2 meats throughout the day and you want each of them to be 3 ounces, you could do like your palm plus the width of your pinky. And your thumb is going to be 1 tablespoon, and your fingertip would be 1 teaspoon. So yeah, just think that's a little bit easier than just saying like get a tablespoon of whatever oil you're using, or I don't know. I like it better than like quantifying it based on that. So now we'll get into nutrition facts. So off to the left, we have like a nutrition fact label. And then to the right, I'm just going to break it down and tell you what you should look for on these nutrition fact labels. So the first thing is the serving size. This particular item has a half a cup of like a half a cup is your serving. So there's 5 servings per container, and you want each serving that you're taking to be half a cup. And then there's your saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar. So saturated fat you want to contain to about less than 10% of your total calories per day. So if this particular food item didn't have the 0%, as we can see here, and it had 10%, we would probably only get to have this particular food item with that saturated fat. All the other ones would have to have 0% fat, or 0% saturated fat, I'm sorry. Sodium, you want to stay to less than 1,500 milligrams per day. And a good way to determine if a food is high sodium, low sodium, or moderate sodium would be if it's got like sodium here is 10%. If it has less than 5% of your daily value, that's considered a low sodium food. 6% to 19% would be a moderate sodium food, and a high sodium food would be greater than 20% of your daily value. And that can be with anything. So like your saturated fat and your added sugars. So added sugars you want to limit to 5 or less servings per week. And you can see it has like 0%. So if, again, this had 100% of your daily value, that would knock you down to 4 servings or less per week, depending on how many you've already had. And now we'll talk about sodium. Sodium is an essential mineral for many body functions, and a lot of Americans overeat sodium just because of the foods that we consume. So on the right, you can see a graphical representation of where you're going to find sodium. And it's commonly found in processed foods, followed by it being naturally occurring, and then added at the table and added in during cooking. So the ones that you want to look out for would be in processed foods and what you're adding during cooking and at the table. A lot of people aren't aware of the naturally occurring. So like I wasn't aware of this until a couple years ago, but like frozen chicken breast does have salt in it. And you wouldn't typically think of your chicken having salt already, but it does. So just be aware of where you're getting your sodium intake. And it's found in a variety of foods, again, and it can be found on the nutrition facts label. And since sodium adds flavor to your dish, I wanted to provide you guys with a recipe that has just as much flavor, but you're not getting the salt. So, oops, I'm sorry. I have like a little handout that will be sent to you guys after the presentation, and it just has a recipe for a low sodium or no sodium like salt substitute. Or you could find like Mrs. Dash. It's like a Mrs. Dash type of seasoning. And here is an example of a 5-day meal plan. I also made a handout to where I have just some ideas of what you can eat for like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and for snacks. I know it's kind of overwhelming to just hear like all of these different like food groups, and you might not be aware of like how you can incorporate all of this into your normal life. So this is just like a good representation of what you can be doing. Oh, here's my recipe for the salt-free seasoning, sorry. And again, you just want to make small steps to change your lifestyle. It doesn't have to be like an overnight thing. It could be you changing one thing about the way that you're eating per week, or if you're not doing any fruits or vegetables or like grains, you might want to just add that into your diet. So it doesn't have to like all occur overnight and to where it's going to like shock you, but just every small step counts and it makes a difference. So just make those little steps and then you'll get to where you want to be. And thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me? Let me see. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now. There we go.
If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Okay.
I'm going to ask a little bit about all the processed foods, whether the diet foods, all the different foods are all processed and everything. So, I mean, it makes it very difficult for you to look at the sodium content.
Yeah, so that's where the nutrition facts label would come into place. Even if it's processed, they still have to tell you how much sodium is in it. So I found out the like chicken breast example that I gave. If you look on like frozen chicken, you can see the sodium content. So that's where you would be looking at your nutrition facts label to see how much sodium's in a food.
Thank you.
No problem. Is there any other questions?
I would just like to say that I am a sweet eater. So growing up, we always had a dessert, after each meal. My mom would make different dishes on Sunday. And even like as an adult, it's like I'm not full until I have that sweet taste in my mouth. But I have learned that to incorporate, I can get that sweet taste by eating fruit. I don't always have to go to a cake or cookie or ice cream, but I can eat some strawberries or some type of fruit and it gives me that sweet sensation that I need.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. I know right now I'm on a big watermelon kick. I just feel like it's really sweet right now, at least. So I've been eating watermelon after dinner, and I'm the same way. Like I grew up having a dessert after dinner, so I know that over time it adds up.
We have some questions in the chat. So let me go to these. Let me find.
So I see one question on what's the best time of the day to take your blood pressure. You would want to talk to your doctor about that because throughout the day, your blood pressure is going to change. So if it was taken in the morning, it might not be the same as after you get home from like driving or running. So I would talk to your doctor about when he or she would think that it would be the best time for you to check your blood pressure.
And we have, if you put your email address in the chat, we have a document on how to accurately take your blood pressure. Like one, you should, if you're gonna drink coffee, then you need to wait 30 minutes to an hour before you check your blood pressure. And even positioning your blood pressure cuff and sitting, how to sit, you don't want your legs crossed. So if you place your email address in the chat, then that's a document that we can send out to you.
Okay, so I see another question about like the heat and humidity in Houston and the tendency to swell up. Um, is that just from the salt intake and what foods could help with that? Um, so the salt intake is definitely not going to help, but that could be from a variety of things. It could be like water content. So it could help if you decrease your salt intake, but I don't want to say like it will for sure help if you decrease your salt intake and you just like won't stop swelling up anymore. I think that's something that you would have to talk to your doctor about to pinpoint like why that swelling would be happening. And for foods that could help with that, again, I'm not too aware of like any foods that would like counteract like all of the potential causes for that. But again, like salt intake could help if that is the cause of your swelling. So a low salt diet, if you are swelling up from salt, would be beneficial. But I don't want to make like a blanket statement. If you're swelling up for different reasons, that might not help. So talking with your doctor would help. Um, Okay, I see another one. Is there any way I can see notes on your presentation to go over it? I do have a handout that will be sent to you, and it's just going to recap my presentation for you. I know it was a lot of information, and it's kind of overwhelming. So I just took like the most important parts and also that meal plan or the examples of foods that you can have. That will also be sent to you, and the recipe will be sent to you.
And this is being recorded. And if we can provide you with the link so that you can go back and review it with family and friends if you need, you could email Susan Hubert, or you may call, I'll put it in the chat. You may call our office number, which is 713-274-0968. So I will place that in the chat so that you can email or call her to see how to get the recording.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have another question on baby aspirin and if you should take it once a day. I've also seen a lot of people saying that, but again, I would talk to your doctor about that. Baby aspirin, even though it is over the counter, it can actually have like significant effects on your body. So if you have like other conditions that can alter it, and it's just important that if you're taking any medication to talk to your doctor about it. It might like interact with another medication that you're taking. So just talk to them. Thank you. So I see one question on, does sweets or sugar raise your blood pressure? And so if you take like a cube of sugar, it's not going to like raise your blood pressure per se, maybe, but it might have other effects on your body that will then raise your blood pressure. So you just want to be aware of that. And it's also not the best like form of food to be consuming if you already have like different comorbidities or like different conditions besides hypertension, because again, it could like just make your blood pressure worse.
And Cara, a lot of processed sweets definitely have a high sodium content for the preservative fact. And then baked goods tend to also be higher in sodium than others, like than fruit or just straight sugar. So, but you're right, sugar's not the best choice.
Yeah, no, exactly. And thank you for bringing that up, because like with baking, salt is actually added in like in significant amounts so that you have like a higher sweet perception of the food that you're consuming. So it's going to taste better to you. So that's also important to note if you're having like baked goods. That's why you add in the salt. It just makes it taste sweeter. So
Susan has added the YouTube link in the chat. So please notice that. And I want to say thank you to Cara. You did a really great job with this presentation. It was very informative. I think we all have some takeaways. Now at this time, if there are no other questions, we actually have a favor that we would like, a request. So for the past couple of weeks, we have been conducting these Wellness Wednesdays. And now we are going to ask you all to answer a couple of questions. So I placed the link, and I'll post it again. I placed this link in the chat. And if you have a moment, I'm going to just show you how the questions look. And if you can just go in there and answer these, I think it's probably 4 or 5 questions. So Cara, do you mind if I share my screen now?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Thank you. I do
Oh,
see one other question that maybe Dr. Davis would be able to answer. They're just asking if the DASH diet or the DASH program is still going to be offered as a class in Harris County, and if it is, like, where it would be.
that is a great question. So when we are doing, when I guess pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, all you had to do was just contact our office and we would go out to the various community centers. We do like to have an audience of 15 to 20 individuals. And this was an overview today, but actually this is a 5-week series. So we go a little slower to make sure that individuals understand the different components of fruits and vegetables. We just go a little deeper. And with that, there are also weekly assignments. So you feel free to, we have a Facebook page that we market our classes on. We have our county website, and you have Susan Hubert's email address, so you can email her at any time. If you are interested, I don't know when we will go back to doing our regular classes, but we work in conjunction with the different senior centers, churches, just throughout the city. But if this is something that you're interested in, you want more information, then we can schedule a 4-week series virtually, because I just don't know when we will go back to, our new normal of going out to the senior centers. And when the senior centers will be, when they will have seniors there for us to actually go to. So if you want more information, please feel free to send Susan Hubert or myself an email, just letting us know that you are interested in placing my email address in the chat box. But it is great information, and I think we do a lot with chronic disease prevention here in our office. We, in addition to hypertension classes, we have a diabetes 4-week series in both English and Spanish. So we have resources. We just don't know when we're going to go back to our new normal. So I would just say continue to check back with us, email us, stay on our Facebook page, and if you have a group now, just let us know. Oh, where's our office? Okay, we just moved to a new office. Susan Hubert, can you place our address in the chat? I will say we are off 290. We are right behind the Harris County Appraisal District. I think it's 19. Okay, she'll put it in there. But we are right off 290, right behind the Harris County Appraisal District. And we're on the 10th floor. I think it's 19.3. That's bad. I need to, oh, there it is. Thank you, Tiana. 13105 Northwest Freeway. That's where our office is located. And we're on the 10th floor, right behind the Harris County Appraisal District. And will you be offering diabetes classes? So we are partnering with, I know this is totally off topic, but we are partnering with Methodist Hospital, and we are going to begin in September offering diabetic virtual classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, twice a week at 11 o'clock for 3 weeks. So that would be 6 classes in 3 weeks. And we are in a process of preparing information to get that out, but Susan Hubert will be the one to remain in contact with in our Facebook page. And also this Saturday, I will be a guest on it's called Cities Changing Diabetes. So we're going to have a special presentation there because the 4th of July is coming, and we always know how, we tend to overeat. And for diabetics trying to watch their blood glucose and their carbohydrate intake, we're going to just show them different ways to eat and be mindful and intentional with their eating practices over the holiday. And that will be on our Facebook page as well. If you need our Facebook page, you can search it at Harris County FCH. Send me your email address. Okay, so Susan has put that on there. So right now, if I can, let me see if I can share. So host disabled participant screen sharing. Laura, can you give me permission to share my screen?
It should be there now.
Okay. Oh, wow, what happened? So do you all see this? It's a little survey. Can you all see it?
I can see it, Sandra.
Okay, good. So it's just little simple questions to help us try to gauge how we're doing. And the first one is, please rate your understanding of ways to control blood pressure before the online lecture. So if it was fair, you can hit fair. You go to the next question, rate your understanding of ways to control your blood pressure after participating in. You know, if it was good, you select good, you move on. Do you intend to apply the information from today's lecture to better your health? You know, say, you know, I'm going to say definitely yes. And I asked, name one thing that you plan to do better to control your blood pressure. You know, if you can put something there, check your, if you're female or male, your age and your ethnic background. And then right here, we're asking if you can provide us with some topics that you are interested in listening to in the future and additional comments, and hit that, and that's it. That's all we're asking. So if you could please click on that link, and I'm going to, let me see if I can. Yeah, if you can click on this link, you can do it right after you get off this lecture series. Are there any other questions?
Looks like somebody wants to know if there's a chance that we could do estate and will preparation classes.
Oh, and will. Ooh. Wow. Okay. That's out of that's not pertaining to family and community health, but I'm sure between our specialists at A&M, this is a topic that I've been interested in as well. So let me look into it. It's definitely needed. Let me look into it. Estate and will preparation. You know, if you never ask, you'll never know the answer. So I would say if you have any type of topics, please put that out there for us. Okay. Once again, please go and click the link and answer those 5 questions. And we will conclude. Thanks, Laura Holt, and thanks, Kara, for a great presentation. And I'm excited to see so many familiar names on the in the chat. So thank you all for tuning in with us. And next week, before I leave, next week we will have Amanda Cripple. She's a family community health agent here. And some of you may be familiar with Master Memory. If not, she's going to do an overview over our Master Memory class, just an overview. But it's, you know, sometimes you think you're losing your mind. You can't remember where you put the keys. You can't remember where the remote control is. And during this presentation, she just talks about little tips to help you recall things. Also, maybe how the medications that you're taking may impact your memory. So we invite you to tune in to Wellness Wednesday next week at 10 o'clock. And we will get the word out. The flyer will be placed on our Facebook page, and we will email it out to all of our senior centers. Thank you all. Have a great day, and see you next Wednesday.